Here, and thanks to our guest speaker right here. So we have Sarah and David right here. So they're actually, Sarah is a realtor and David is actually a mortgage lender. So it's great pleasure for them to be here to give us some, talk about the industry and about their career and their jobs. So it's a great chance for you, especially most of you are actually in the junior year. So it will soon be your time for you to actually choose a path in who you want to be, what you're going to do once you graduate. So I think it's a great timing for you to get to know what's going on out there. So we'll start with Sarah.
Like you said, I'm Sierra Kovash, and I'm a realtor here in Durant, and I work for Coldwell Banker Van Meter Select. A little bit about me: I was a top producer in my brokerage this year. I sold 38 properties last year. So I do know a tiny bit about what I'm talking about. I hold 2 designations, graduate realtor, and I'm a certified residential specialist. And so real estate isn't just about opening doors and letting people inside. My business degree has helped me a tremendous amount with real estate. So you have to evaluate properties, and so you compare property to property. You need to be able to evaluate, as simple as how much is a bathroom worth compared to, so one house has a bathroom, one house has 3 bathrooms, but the property is somewhat comparable, so a bathroom's worth $1,200. It's kind of like credits and debits on an accounting sheet. So, we're gonna line this property up, it's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. So we're gonna go through and say, like, this house is $110,000, this house is $100,000, work through the property, and then at the end, this property's worth, after we've added in, a closet, an extra, kitchen, or just extra things. This one's now worth $140, this one's worth $100, and that's how we come up with, listing values and things like that. That's for residential. For commercial, it's similar, but it's also, if it's just a building, does it come with a working business inside of it? How much is that business worth? How much is the name of the business? How much so I was selling a flower shop, and I will call it Bob's Flowers. So it's not a franchise, it's just a family-owned business. But over the years, Bob's Flowers has built up a reputation. So we had to value the reputation of the business because they were going to take it over. It was going to stay Bob's Flowers. We had to value the inventory of Bob's Flowers. We had to value the property. We had to value Bob's reputation. And all of those things are, related to business finance. Because we're going to finance this property, right? And we have to prove to the bank that over the years that Bob's Flowers has been successful. Over the years, Bob's Flowers has increased in productivity, in business, in all of these things over the years. And you're going to have to build a business plan, Dr. Brester's class.
Not yet. It's too early for this.
Not yet. Next year. It's going to be terrible. Sorry, guys. Mine was 48 pages long. And I had to, we have to prove these things. So if you're going to loan for this business, how much are each of these things worth? Because you, who've put in 20 years of your business, you know that your business is worth more than the inventory and the building. It's worth your heart and soul, right? Okay. So then we've got commercial residential, right? We've got rent houses, we've got apartment complexes, we've got these sorts of things. We've got duplexes, triplexes, quads. David owns a ton of these properties, so he could probably tell you a little bit more about buying them than I can. But so I bought my first rent house last year, and because I don't have any other rent houses, I had to put 20% down. I had to prove that I could get the rent that I could get for it, I had to make sure that I had rent, like months worth of rent in reserves, right? So these are all finance related because I had to finance the property. I had to go to the bank. I had to have a good relationship with my banker. I had to have a good credit score. And all of this is more than just me being a realtor, isn't it? It's more than just me having a license. These are real things that I'm doing every day. And these are things that I do with my clients too. It's not just me doing these things. These are things that people call me. Literally, my phone's probably have rung 3 times and I have 8 text messages right now. People calling me saying, hey, what's the cap rate on this property? Have y'all done cap rate in any of your classes or finance? Okay, I can do cap rate at the end of this, but they say, well, what's the cap rate? What's going to be the taxes on this property? What will be my income? What would you value this property at? What would, these are the questions that I get every day that I didn't get whenever I got my license. Truly, like for my license, it was, can you do a legal description? Or let's go over a legal description. Maybe let's calculate a payment, which was like basic, like interest rate, on a calculator, things like that. And you can do that so easy. And, law. It was literally business law. And that was it for my license. So having, business finance and accounting and all these other things really, really, really helped go into my profession. Because now, whenever somebody hands me a settlement statement, which is whenever we go to closing, which is like an accounting sheet, which is debits and credits, I know what they mean. I understand that we're giving something to the buyer, we're giving something to the seller, and that may seem simple, but sometimes my buyers don't understand. They don't understand, that this goes to one person, this goes to another person. A lot of people are simple. They need you to guide you through the process. And David can understand that more than I can because he does like 200 loans a year. Maybe I'm underestimating, but he does so many. And David's been doing this for 20-something years. I've been doing it for 2.5. So my normal day would be, I sleep till about 10. I'm just kidding, maybe a little. David knows. He's called me before and asked me if I'm up. But a normal day where I'm very productive is I get up at 8, take my kid to school, 7, take my kid to school, and I'll go to my office, I'll follow up with leads, maybe call a surveyor, order surveys on a property. I mostly work with residential. I have some experience in commercial, but I work with residential rentals and residential just, sell a house. In that we have, so the process for that, I did write it down, is if you come into my office and you say, hey, I want to buy a house, I'm going to say, do you know what your credit score is? And if you're going to say, I don't know, then we're going to work on that. I'm going to say, do you have any money in the bank? Sometimes your answer might be no. If it's no, then we're going to work on that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do a little tiny bit of counseling. We're going to say, hey, maybe we should set up maybe a savings plan, maybe let's work on that. Then a lot of times I'm going to send you to David, and every time, most likely. I'm going to send you to David, and David's going to do something similar. He's going to pull your credit. He's going to say, why don't you have any money in the bank? You make $100,000 a year. Maybe we should work on that. And he's going to set you up a savings plan. He's going to help you with your credit score. He's going to do all these things. Then after that, he's going to send you back a little letter, or he's going to email me a letter, and it's going to be your pre-approval rate. And it's going to say, hey, you're approved for $150,000 with this interest rate, and go buy you a house, right? So we're going to go on my MLS, and I have 2 screens in my office, and I'm going to go, and we're going to look up different houses. And we're going to go look at lots of different houses. And whenever I look at different houses, there are lots of different loans out there. We've got conventional, FHA, USDA, those are VA, those are most of them. So with those different loans, I need to know what you can get away with in a house. Like conventional, depends on what kind of conventional loan you're gonna get. If it's a 3%, 5%, 10%, 20%, if it's 20%, you can get a fixer-upper. If it's a 3%, not so fixer-upper. All right?
Correct.
Okay. And, you know, USDA, this house needs to be perfect. FHA, it needs to be mostly perfect. VA needs to be perfect. Then you find a house, you love it, we're gonna negotiate some. You need your closing costs paid for, which runs you about $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 if it's a really big house. If you have it in the bank, you're awesome, you're my favorite customer. If you don't have it in the bank, we're gonna negotiate. Then after that, we're gonna order the appraisal. We might order an MIC, which is I'm not allowed to call it a survey because it's not a survey, it's just a drawing of the house and make sure there are no encroachments on the property. Because you don't want to buy a property and the neighbor's fence is 5 feet on your property, right? I know all this in memory, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not skipping anything. Then we're going to order the appraisal. We're going to make sure that it is valued for what you agreed to pay for it. And that's another part of my job, is to make sure you're not overpaying for your house. So I'm not going to, you know, because it would really suck if you said, hey, I want to pay $120,000 for this house, and it comes in at $105,000, and the seller's like, no, I'm not going to let you have this house for $105,000, and you've already fallen in love and figured out where you're going to put your Christmas tree. And then David's upset because he's like, now I lost this loan, and I'm upset because I showed you 15 houses for you to figure out you wanted this house and this Christmas tree. Then it's going to appraise because I did my job right. And we're going to send it to underwriting. They're going to make sure that you have had your job for as long as you said you had your job. He already did that in the pre-approval, but, you know, we're just checking that you didn't quit your job. That you paid all your car notes on time. That he's going to go over that. But then we're going to balance the settlement statement. We're going to make sure you didn't spend all your money on furniture and Christmas trees before you buy your house. Because people do crazy stuff like that. Then we're going to close your house, and then you're going to move in. So, that's what my normal day looks like. I do all that, raise a kid, and do literally everything. So, any questions about my daily life? What?
So how much do I have to pay in agent if I want to buy like a house?
If you want to buy a house, I'm free. If you want to sell a house, 6%. Any other questions? Oh, my yearly fees are around about $2,000 to keep my license. So what was your question?
Based on all that, how much would you say you work per week?
How much would I say I work per week?
Like, I guess how many hours you usually cover? Are you usually working about 60 to 70 hours a week, or you take a schedule? How does that work out?
Last year, when I was top producer, I probably worked about 50 hours a week. This year, I kind of slowed down a little bit.
You get to pick and choose what time
Yeah. But my phone, I am on call 24/7. Yeah, people message me 3 a.m. So, I can ignore them. But I have to, like, I started working this morning at 7:30. And I stopped working last night at 9:30. So, that was my choice, because they said, call me at your convenience, and I called them at 8:30. Because I was putting it off, because I thought they were going to fire me. Because they were upset. Because they looked at 20 houses and haven't picked one. And I finally stood up to them. So, the job's not easy.
Maybe you can explain to them a little bit, you know, when I actually purchased my house, actually I had no idea whether or not I need a realtor. So maybe you can explain to them the difference between the buyer side realtor and the sell side.
Okay. And David will back me up on this one. I know he will.
Yes. How are you doing?
When buying a house, if you buy it from a listing or from a for sale by owner, I know what I'm doing as far as buying. I know what comes next. I know how to negotiate I know how to fill out a contract. I know what addendums you need for your contract. I know how to protect you. Using a realtor is the best thing for you to do because we know how to walk you through the process. We know how to get you the best deal. We know, okay, so on a contract, there's gonna be lots of spaces for you to fill out. And we use contracts that are pre-run for us. You trust me, if you buy a house, you do not want to, they're not gonna take a handwritten contract. It has to be the Oklahoma residential contract. But there's also gonna be loan addendums. There's gonna be, if you have your stuff paid for, there's going to be proper ways to write it. And if you go to a lender and you say, hey, I'm buying this house from a for sale by owner and I'm not being represented, you're gonna be a pain in your lender's neck. Cause then they're not gonna wanna order the abstracting. If they have title issues, they're not gonna know how to fix them. They're not gonna call the attorney 5 times in a day to make them fix the problem. And I've spent 6 months trying to fix title issues because the buyer or the seller didn't know how to do it. But we're trained. I spend $2,000 a year to keep my license. I have to follow up with CE to keep my license, and I have special designations. I did 300 hours of CE in the last year and a half, continuing ed, so that I am the best possible person to represent you. But we do that because we want to be the best, because we want to represent you, because we want to be able to guide you through these things, and know how to fix them. And if you're doing it on your own, a lot of times, you don't know how to fix it, and you're gonna harass the only person who you know that might know something, which is your lender, and they've got a million other things on their plate. Did I describe that the way you think I would describe it?
Yeah, good.
Okay. He's my go-to.
Hmm.
So I harass him. And my broker. But, okay, so another thing I should say is that I don't work for myself. Is that I have a broker who I work under. If I wanted to, I've been in it 2 years, I can get my broker's license and start my own real estate agency. I'm not going to because that's stupid expensive. But I'd rather just split my commission and have my own office, have my landline, everything like that, and an office assistant. But in Oklahoma, if you get your real estate license, you have to have your license for 2 years before you can go out on your own. Fun fact. Okay.
And in that regard, how you're compensated?
How I'm compensated? I am
Yes.
only compensated on commission.
I mean, it has the buyer side, realtor, because
Okay.
the buyer does not pay you, so how you're compensated in that?
Okay, so if it's sold and the commission is 6%, then it's split 4 ways. The selling realtor gets, them and their company gets 3%. So however it's split between them and their broker, that's their business, I don't know. I get 60%, my broker gets 40% of that 3%. So if the house is $100,000, $6,000 is in commission, $3,000 goes to the seller, $3,000 goes to my broker, I get $1,800, he gets $1,200.
I've been doing this, so I graduated from Southeastern 25 years ago, okay? How about that? And I graduated here with a finance degree with an accounting minor from Southeastern. And I went to work, probably maybe, of course I had jobs and stuff through college, but about 1.5 years before I got into this, and I've been a mortgage banker for 23 years now. So a little bit about me, I'm pretty diversified. I've been in the banking industry for 23 years. I do that every day. We did have to take a test, like kind of what Sierra said. We had to take a national test to do it what I do, and then we had to take a state test, okay? It's almost like taking the bar exam or something. You have to go to Dallas or Oklahoma City, go in this little cubicle room, they pat me down, I can't have anything, I mean, there's cameras on me, pretty intense, you know, I'm like, wow. I mean, they're watching you with a microscope, make sure you're not cheating or anything, and test usually takes somewhere around 2 to 3 hours to get through this test. And you have a calculator and a pencil in there, and it's all on a computer screen to get through that test. A lot of people think only maybe the average is maybe 18 to 20% of people pass it the first time. And most people have to go back and pass it, take the test a few more times. But I hold those licenses. We have to do a CE class every year. So I hate to tell you this, but college, once you get out of school, it's like you gotta keep doing continuing ed or something all the time. You know, it never quits. And my industry changes all the time. So like we're getting stuff just shot at us every day about learning and changing programs. So it's like education never stops, okay? If you're gonna be good at what you do, it's continuous all the time. So we have CE classes every day, or every year, we have to do that. Another part of me too, I've taken my finance degree, business degree. I don't know if y'all know this place up west of town, but I own Jones Power Sports, big motorcycle dealership. That's mine out there. I have 50 rent houses that I own, and I have a 560-acre ranch with a bunch of cattle on it. And so I do that too. So I'm pretty busy and have 3 kids. So trying to manage all that in my time is a lot. I currently have about, let's see, 34. I have about 38 employees that are just mine, that I'm responsible for to make sure I make enough money to provide a payroll check for 38 employees. That's a lot. My wife wonders sometimes why I'm stressed out a little bit sometimes, you know, about trying to take care of 38 employees and get everything done every day. But I enjoy what I do. And I thought today I want to try to, you know, my biggest thing as far as the finances, we teach you kids how to get out of college and get a job, but then we don't teach you how to manage your money. Or we don't teach you how, so we kind of forget that part of it. You know, so what if you guys get out of school and y'all start making $200,000 right off the bat? Well, nobody taught you how to manage your credit or your money, okay? I hate to tell you this, but doctors and lawyers are the world's worst. They come out of college with $500,000 worth of student loan debts, and they go buy them a new Mercedes and this and that, and then they come to me to get a home loan, and I can't get them approved, okay? They haven't paid a bill on time in their life. They don't have any clue how to manage this money that they're making. You know, so I see that struggle every day. So I brought you something today that hopefully you guys, and try to relate it to you specifically. And I want y'all to ask me questions about this. And everything here that I did for you is a question mark. So I put 5 things there that a college graduate needs when you leave here, okay, to be successful. When you leave and you get that degree, you got to have this vision. What are you going to look like when you get out of school, okay? Because then you're going to come to me to try to get a home loan, and you're going to be like, now what do I do? Because things happen really fast when you get out of college. You're at the age where, okay, hey, I got a job. Hey, I may be getting married pretty quick, and I'm going to have some kids pretty quick, so things start snowballing on you pretty fast. And if you don't prepare for it, it's going to hinder you in life for several years. A lot of college kids come to me and they kind of had a lot of fun in college and they messed up a lot of stuff. And it takes them about 10 years to recoup, you know, because they had a really good time for 4 years, and it takes about another 10 years to recoup and fix up all their messes that they made. So the first question is, what should your credit score be? Okay? So if you don't know, that's a bad sign. Okay? You need to know what your score is. And if you're really young and you don't have any, you need to start building some, okay? So your magic score that you at least need to have when you leave college, I want you around there, is a 650, okay? That's about average, okay? I'd like for you to have an 800, which is perfect, but if you don't, that's fine. But you can buy a house with a 650 credit score or something, okay? So I want you to start working on your credit score, because when you get out of school and you get a job, then you need good credit to move forward in life, to have something, okay, to have something in life. Unless you inherit a bunch of money, that your mom and dad leave you millions of dollars, you're going to need some credit, okay? So 650 credit score is what you need. Who all knows what your credit score is? Raise your hand if you know what it is. Okay? And the other ones don't, right? Okay? So I'm going to touch on that real quick. There's 3 credit bureaus, okay? You have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Okay, there's 3 different ones, and you're going to get a little bit different score on all of them. But you need to pay attention, and a lot of people go to Credit Karma now, or their credit card will offer that, but you need to kind of pay attention to that and start working on some credit, okay? If you don't have any, and you don't know where to start, then call me, come by the office, and I'll help you I'll get you going, okay? I'll be glad to do that and won't charge you a nickel, okay? But you need to have at least a 650 credit score. Now, next question. How many trade lines should you have? What's a trade line? Tell me what a trade line is. Anybody know what a trade line is? Okay? So a trade line is what shows up on the credit report, okay? So let's say that I have a Ford F-250 Super Duty pickup, and I bought that through Ford Finance. That's going to show up on my credit report as a trade line, okay? If you have a credit card through Chase Bank or First United, a credit card through them, that's a trade line, okay? You need 3 trade lines when you graduate college, okay? I want you to have 3, okay?
Why trade?
Huh?
Why?
Why 3? Because if you go to buy something or you want to buy a house, as a lender, we want to see that you have at least 3 trade lines for 12 months that show that you can prove that you can pay something back, okay? So 3 is kind of the magic number. If you only have 1, and you come to me and ask me, hey David, I want to borrow $150,000 on this house, and I'm going to look at you and say, man, I'd love to, but you've only got 1 trade line and you've only been paying on it for 6 months. That doesn't give me a whole lot of proof that you can pay this $150,000 loan back. See what I'm saying? So 3, you need 3 trade lines that are at least 12 a year old, okay? Now, those 12 months don't need to have late payments on them, do they? They need to be good, they need to be good histories. That means you need to pay them on time, okay? If you pay anything over 30 days late, it's going to show up on the credit report. You cannot be late, or it's going to show on there as a negative, and it's going to hurt your credit, okay? So you need 3 trade lines that show up, okay? So what's my next question? And I said trade lines, and what kind? So there's a couple different kinds of trade lines, okay? There's actually 3 different trade lines on a credit report. One is a mortgage, which is what I do, okay? The second one is an installment. And who has a car loan in here? Anybody have a car loan? Okay, so that's an installment because it's the same payment every month, okay? $255, whatever the case may be. And then the third is revolving, and that's a credit card, okay? So you need to have a little of, so right now most of you don't have a mortgage, so you need to have at least an installment note, and you need a credit card, at least 1 or 2 of those, 3 trade lines, okay? So you have revolving and you have installment, those are 2. So to get the magic credit score of 820, okay, you'd have a mortgage that shows up on there, you have a car loan, and you have a couple credit cards. When you take care of those perfectly, then you're going to have an 800 credit score. Yes, ma'am?
What's the revolving?
What's what?
The revolving.
Revolving's a credit card, okay? And so think about it. Credit card is you pay on it this month, and you charge more on it, and then you pay it down, that's called revolving because it's moving all the time, okay? Now, I'm going to give you a tip. The next question is, should I have a credit card, okay? Is your next question. Yes, you do need a credit card, okay, to build good credit. Yes, ma'am?
That was my question. Do I need to have a credit card to build a credit?
Yes, you do, okay? Because a revolving credit card shows that you can manage your money, okay? So it helps your credit fast. It helps it really good. I'm not telling you to go get in debt. Let's get that straight, okay? I'm not telling you to go get a credit card and charge it up and get in debt. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm telling you to show good credit history. I want y'all to get a gas card or something where you get gas and pay on it and just charge 1 tank of gas on that card every month and then pay it off, and it'll show good history and starts building your credit score, okay? You also need to know what the limit is on that credit card. When you get approved for that, it's going to approve you for $300, okay, for this card. That's the max you can go. So the max is, I don't want you to ever charge, see right there where it says limit on the card and percentage? I want you to know the limit, okay, on that card. Know what the limit is. Now, there's a magic number too that I don't want you to charge over. And that percentage is 30%, okay? So if you get approved all of you mathematicians in here, you get approved for $300, right? Don't charge over $90 on that card, okay? Because if you do, the credit bureau reads that you can't manage your money very well and you're maxing that card out, okay? And then your credit score is going to drop, even if you pay it on time, okay? So if you have 1 or 2 credit cards, know the limit and never charge over 30%, okay? Yes, ma'am.
So how many credit cards do we need to have?
I want you to have 2. You really need to have 2 credit cards and 1 installment loan, like a car loan. Now, if you don't want to go buy a car or something to build credit, you could actually go borrow $1,000 from a bank, put the $1,000 in a savings account and have them draft that account to just build credit, okay? That way you're never late on it or something like that. So you have to start somewhere, okay? Building some credit. I'll give you an example. My kids, I've got one daughter who's in graduate school. She's going to be a speech pathologist, and she's at Broken Arrow right now. She's got a year to go. And the other day, so I got her a car, and I paid that car off. I didn't owe any money on the car, but I made her go borrow $3,000 on that car, and then put the money in the savings account, and then she drafted that account every month for the payment just to build her credit. She's 23 years old now, and she called me the other day and said, Dad, my credit score's 780. Is that good? I said, yeah, that's really good. And she's excited about it. So, you know, now she can go. So let me ask you a question. When you graduate college, all y'all get a good job. Let's say we're averaging, we're making $75,000, and you don't take care of your credit, okay? And now you have, I'm going to give you an example, okay? You got 2 kids. You're married, you got 2 kids now. And one of you have a credit score of a 570, and one of you have a credit score of 770 because you just took care of a little bit of business, okay? So do you want those 2 kids to ride in a clunker car that's going to break down on you every day? Or do you want to go get a 0% at Ford and drive a brand new car for those kids, and it'd be under warranty, it gets better gas mileage? Which one do you want? Of course, you know which one you want. So it just takes a little bit of management now for you guys to do that. And that's what I'm talking about. If I can help y'all now before it gets too late, it'll be way easier on you in life to have a new car versus an old one, okay? So that's the difference. And the only difference is you don't make more money than the next guy. You just manage your stuff better and you got better credit, okay? So a lot of times you'll see somebody driving down a road in a brand new car, like, man, he makes a ton of money. No, he makes the same amount of money as I do. His credit is bad and mine's good. So I drive a brand new one and he drives an old one, okay? There's no difference, okay? So you got to know what to do with your credit like that, okay, when you get out of school. All right, debt. Here's my thing with college kids. You come out of school, again, I'm telling you, don't get in a bunch of debt. Now, if you have some student loans too, that should go on your credit report too. So that'll help you pay those on time. Okay, so make sure you pay those. Now, I'm going to give you a little secret. These student loans you're getting are government loans. Okay, so if you come to me and you don't pay those student loans back, right, and then you come to me and ask me for a government loan on a house, we do a little thing, it's called a Caver's check is what it's called. So if you've defaulted on student loans, we're not going to give you a government loan on a house because you've already defaulted the government one time. So why are they going to give you another one? Okay, so be careful, okay? So pay your student loans back because it's going to haunt you somewhere down the road if you don't. But my point was, a lot of college kids get out of school, they make some money, right? They get a good job, they go get a new car tomorrow, okay? And then they get something else real quick, and then you're trapped, okay? That's my word. I don't want you trapped in life to succeed, okay? Because then you get this job and you get this debt. Now you can't even go, you can't take off work. What if somebody calls you for an interview that's in another state? Well, you're so trapped with debt that you can't even take off 2 days to go get this other job, okay? So as young as you are, that's my word. Don't get trapped in life that you can't change from one job to the next or better yourself because you're in debt already so bad that you can't even miss a paycheck, okay? I know people that won't take another job because they're have to start that job, and it's gonna be a 3-week delay before they get a paycheck. They can't even do it. So they don't even take a $15,000 a year raise because they're already trapped in debt, okay? So make sure you manage your money and make sure you don't get yourself trapped when you get out of school. Be patient, okay? As soon as you get out of school, make some money, save a little bit of money. You know, they say that you really need 6 months of reserves. So look at your budget. If it costs you $2,000 a month to live, really you should have $12,000 in the bank, is what they say, okay? So that's hard to do, but really that's the terminology that you should have, is about $12,000 in the bank, okay? And then last thing I put on there is make sure you don't have any bad debt or collections, okay? So if you open a credit card and you don't pay it back, they're gonna turn you over to a collection agency, okay? So the other day I had a little procedure on my back and had some stitches in it, stuff cut off my back, and my insurance didn't pay for it real quick, and within 2 weeks, they sent my medical bill to a collection company within 2 weeks. And I was working on it, so I went back and talked to them. They was like, oh, we already sent that to the collection agency. Well, it takes 6 months for it to actually happen legally, but I got on the phone immediately and called them, but they're gonna turn that over to the collection agency on me, and it would hit my credit report, probably drop my credit score 20 or 30 points, okay? Which is not good. So you gotta take care of business on stuff like that, because if it hits your credit report, 80% of your credit is built upon positive payments, okay? Things that you pay every month. Only 20% is negative things if you don't pay on time or whatever the case may be. So a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to get in debt. I don't want to. Well, if you don't have anything on the credit report, your scores are never going to go up. Okay, you're never going to get anywhere. Okay, people who get in a financial bind sometimes will pay everything off, and they're like, I'm never getting anything again. Well, guess what? They're never going to have a credit score again, and they're never going to be able to buy anything again unless you have cash for everything. You know, so there's a lot to learn. My email address on there, my phone numbers are on there. Be glad to help you guys anyway. In Durant, Oklahoma, or this surrounding areas right here, last year we loaned my office right there. We loaned right at $30 million last year in home loans. That's all I do. I don't loan on land. I don't loan on anything else. It's just housing. So we loaned almost $30 million. So can y'all imagine how many credit reports I saw last year and looked at people's debt and their income, and that's what I do. I analyze that all day long, every day. My boys asked me the other day, my little boy's in 6th grade, and I picked him up from school. He goes, Dad, we're learning on these ratios. He goes, why do I gotta know about these ratios? You know, and so I go into this whole spiel with him about your debt ratio, about how much money you make versus how much you spend and all that. And he goes, okay, I get it. So everything that you do in here and everything in life is going to somewhere boil down to financing somewhere, okay? I mean, it just is what it is. And so if you have these good classes and these good professors, they're going to teach you how to do that, but I want you to get out of school and manage it and do a good job with that money that you make when you get out of school. There's a lot of people that make a lot of money and they don't manage it well and they never get anywhere with it, okay? So it's a good thing if you can manage your money well and have good credit. You have a lot of success in life. Things are a lot easier if you manage your money and you have good credit. Questions for me? Anything I can answer for you guys? Yes, sir.
The email is not on this piece of paper.
David J. This is my website you can go to. DavidJ@guildmortgage.net. If y'all want to write that on there, email me anytime. DavidJ@guildmortgage.net. If you have any financial questions about credit cards, anything like that, I'm here to help you. Okay?
I forgot to say something.
Yeah.
Don't forget to put money back for your taxes, because you have to pay your taxes.
If in her situation, she's what they call a 1099, okay? So you have two types of income coming in. If you're self-employed, and then so at the end of the year, they're gonna give you a 1099. It says, hey, Sierra made $85,000. So she's responsible for filing her own tax return and paying her own taxes, okay? She has to do that. So through the year, she has to manage her money very well, okay? So every time she gets a check, she's gonna have to put a little bit back over here in the savings account to make sure she got enough to pay her taxes at the year. I'm a W-2 employee, I'm not a 1099. So my company already takes the taxes out for me, okay? Now, I could not take enough, or I may have it too much, but for the most part, that's the two types of income you're gonna get. You're gonna have a 1099, or you'll be a W-2 employee, one of the two, okay? So I look at tax returns every day. In my job, I look at financials, I look at balance sheets, I look at P&Ls, tax returns. My whole day is numbers, all day long, numbers. And so when I get home at night, I don't like looking at those. I'm pretty tired of looking at numbers all day and stuff, you know? What other questions y'all have?
Do taxes affect your credit any?
Do what?
Do taxes affect your credit any, like if you are self-employed?
They won't affect it unless you file your tax return and you do not pay those taxes, okay? So one of the things that we do when we pull a credit report, that is an awesome question, there's two things that's gonna affect you that you cannot buy a house with ever, is if you have a tax lien, okay? You didn't pay your property taxes, or you didn't pay the taxes through the state or whatever at the end of the year, or if there's a judgment against you, okay? So if somebody files a judgment against you for not paying a bill, that's gonna go on the credit report. Tax liens and judgments are legal documents that are filed at the courthouse, and they will be filed down there, and we cannot do a home loan for you unless those are cleared up. So those will show up on the credit report, and they will damage your credit, okay? You had a question, sir?
How do you go about increasing your credit line usually? Usually when you start off, they'll give you like, I know I started off, I think $1,200, that's what I started off with.
Yeah.
And I think I've had that since, I wanna say senior of high school. How
Good.
do you go about increasing that?
Yeah.
Credit line as you get older and you start making more money, that kind of thing?
So another company's gonna offer, you know, you get these credit card offers and stuff like that sometimes. So when they pull your credit and your credit score is higher because you did pay that one on time, they're automatically gonna offer you more of a credit line, automatically. Now, if they don't, then you always can call that card holder or whoever that person is and say, hey, I need to increase in my limit, okay? Because, what did we say a while ago? You don't wanna go over what percentage?
30%.
30%. So if you only have a card that has a limit on it of $300 and you've been paying them for 3 years and you've never missed a payment, then you probably need to call them and say, hey, can you just do an increase on it? Keep the same card, just ask them for an increase on it, okay? Happens all the time. So when I'm trying to deal with a customer, and let's say that somebody has perfect credit, let's say they've never been late at one time, but yet they've got 3 credit cards and they're maxed out, okay? I can fix that credit really quick without them even having to pay it down. They call the credit card company, say, hey, can you increase my limit? Overnight, that limit goes up, that percentage drops over below 30%, and within about 30 days, I can increase their credit score 50, 60 points, okay? Then they get a better interest rate on their house. Then they can buy a nicer house, you know? So just by doing some simple things like that.
How much did you ask for, just based on?
Based upon your usage, you know? So if you're using that card a lot, you just need to base it upon that. You don't want to do too much because of the chance of somebody stealing that card. If you're not using it, you sure don't want a $15,000 limit on it or something, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't do that, okay? If that's the case. Yes, Sierra?
Will you touch on, if you're self-employed, not to write off too much?
Yep. So in Sierra's instance, we look at tax returns every day to see how much, you know, somebody makes, okay? So in today's society, when you file a tax return, you have your gross income. So let's find an example that Sierra had gross sales last year and her commission was $85,000, okay? But yet, when she filed her tax returns, she went to see an accountant and he wrote off her mileage, some usage of her cell phone, some office times, she bought a new computer, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, she had what they call adjusted gross, okay? So she had gross income of 85 and she spent $30,000 on expenses and mileage. So now she has an adjusted gross of $50,000, okay? All right, at the end of the day. So that's what I'm gonna use, okay? I'm gonna give you an extreme example. There's some truck driver companies or whatever that I've seen stuff as they've had total gross sales of 2.5 million, and on the tax return, they show they lost $250,000 for the year, okay? They wrote off that much stuff. Well, how am I gonna give a guy a loan if he lost $250,000 last year? That's not a good loan, is it? Can't help him. So, a lot of people are self-employed. You have to find that fine line of, hey, how much expenses do I show? How much income do I show? And that's between you and your accountant, okay? And again, that depends on whether you're self-employed or whether you work for somebody, okay? So those are all very important things you can do. Me and my business that I own, the other business that we own, we have to find that fine line of every year of, hey, do we need to buy a new vehicle this year to avoid some taxes, or are we just gonna pay money in? So it gets pretty hectic as far as keeping enough cash flow, or turning around and giving it all to the government, or there again showing enough income. Because the other day, I went to the bank to borrow $1.1 million on something, okay? I did. I asked for a loan for $1.1 million, and they gotta look at my tax return. If I wrote too much off, do you think they're gonna loan me any money? Nope. That tax return needs to have enough income there to show that I can service that debt, okay? Because that'd be a bad loan if that banker would loan me $1.1 million if I can't service that debt, okay? So you gotta find that fine line of showing enough income on a tax return. You guys learning a lot in this class from this guy right here? Huh? Good. So he's gonna help you get out of school, and you're all gonna go knock down some big jobs, about $250,000 or so out of your first year of college, right? I had no clue what I was gonna do when I graduated college. No clue, okay? So a lot of people are stressed about that. My daughter's stressed about that. She's going to be a speech path, and she's stressed. Oh, Dad, do you think I can get a job? Whatever. Well, let me just tell y'all, the workforce today, if you have a college degree, you're one step ahead, okay? If you are, how many play sports in high school? Anybody play sports? Okay? I think you need to be competitive in life, okay? Every day you get up, you need to be competitive, okay? If you show up on time, you give some effort, and you're competitive, you're gonna find a good job, okay? There's plenty of good jobs out there. But you don't have to know what you're gonna do either. So that's what I'm talking about a while ago about getting trapped. If you don't know what you're gonna do, just make sure you don't get trapped, okay? Heck, go to Hawaii and work for 6 months if you don't have any debt. Go have fun down there. See what you like there. Go to Colorado and work for a while. Move around and see what you like to do, and you'll find what you like. But if you're trapped, you don't want to get stuck working at Easy Mart every night because you're up to your ears and eyeballs in debt. So don't worry about that. Get your degree. Be competitive. Show up. Give it a lot of hard effort at what you do. It'll be fine. The workforce is pretty weak these days, I promise you. We go through a lot of people. We hire people. They show up for 3 or 4 weeks. They do really good. And I'm like, hey, too early to tell. Let's wait about 6 months. And then after about 6 months, you can really tell if somebody's going to stick and they're going to be a good employee or not. If they're going to work hard or not, you know. So just do those few things. Keep your credit good, and you'll go a long way in life. I promise you. Okay?